The city lights shined bright, but for her they only brought pain. Crowds moved fast on the streets, humans laughing, trading, eating. But no one looked at her with kindness. She was different. She was alien, her skin pale and marked with soft lines of her species, her eyes larger than human eyes, always wet with tears she tried to hide. She was a widow. Her husband had died in the Great War between humans and aliens, leaving her with 2 small children and no protection. Every morning she woke before the sun, wrapped her children in warm blankets, kissed their heads and promised, "I will find food for you today." But every night she returned with empty hands, or only scraps others had thrown away. Her children never complained, but their little stomachs growled and their small faces grew thinner each day. It cut her heart like a knife. So she walked again, searching for work. She went to a bakery. "Please, I can clean, I can sweep. Just give me something." The baker frowned. "You? No, no one will buy food touched by your kind." She bowed her head and left at the clothing shop. "I can sew, I can fold." The woman behind the counter laughed. Customers do not want alien hands touching their clothes. Again, she walked away, at the market, at the factory, at the cafe, everywhere the same. "No, go away, we don't hire your kind." People whispered when she passed, "She is cursed. Her husband died, and now she brings bad luck. She should go back to her world." But her world was destroyed in the war, her home gone forever. Earth was the only place left for her and her children. And Earth did not want them. At night she sat outside with her children looking at the stars. Her son asked, "Mama, why don't humans like us?" Her throat burned, but she forced a smile. "Not all humans are bad. One day we will find someone who sees us." Her daughter whispered, "Mama, I'm hungry," and closed her eyes to sleep. The widow pressed her hands together, silent, begging the universe for mercy. The next day she tried again. She knocked on doors, she carried her children with her, hoping their innocent faces might melt someone's heart. But people only grew colder. "Those children are extra mouths to feed, no one will hire her," they said. She swallowed her pride and begged, "Please, I just need a job. Any job. I will work day and night." But the doors closed in her face again and again. Tears blurred her vision as she stumbled through the busy streets. Shops full of food, toys, clothes, so close but out of reach. She wished her husband was alive, strong and brave as he had been. He would have protected them. He would have made the humans respect her, but he was gone. His name forgotten by all except her. One afternoon she fainted in the street. Hungry, weak, her body shaking, her children cried beside her, "Mama, wake up, please." People walked around them, annoyed, pretending not to see. No one stopped. No one offered a hand. She woke on the cold ground, shame burning in her chest. She thought, maybe this is the end. Maybe tomorrow my children will starve, and I can do nothing. But that night, something changed. As she sat in the shadow of an alley holding her children close, she felt a gaze. Someone was watching her. She looked up, and in the crowd, she saw him. A human man, tall, silent, eyes sharp, not filled with hate but with something else. Something she could not read. He did not laugh, he did not spit, he did not turn away. He only stood there staring as if deciding something. Her heart raced. Why was he watching her? Was he another cruel one? Would he take her children away? She pulled them closer, whispering, "Stay near me." The man took one step forward. Her breath caught. The crowd moved around him, but he kept coming closer. Her children pressed their faces into her dress, afraid. She wanted to run, but her legs were too weak. The man stopped just a few steps away. He looked at her, then at her children, and then back at her. Finally, he spoke, his voice calm but strange. "I have work for you." The widow blinked, sure she had misheard. "No one wants me," she whispered. "No one will hire me." But the man's eyes did not move. His tone, steady. "I am not no one," he said. The silence between them was heavy. Her heart pounded louder than the city around her. Was this real? Was it a trick? For the first time in many years, someone had offered her hope. Hope but also danger, because she did not know who this man was, or what kind of work he wanted from a poor alien widow and her children. And as the city lights flickered in the night, she realized her life was about to change forever. The widow did not trust her ears. The human man had just said the words she had prayed for many nights. "I have work for you," he repeated, his voice calm and steady. The street noise grew louder around them, but those words cut through everything. She pulled her children closer, afraid this was only a cruel joke. Humans had lied before. Humans had tricked her before. Why would this man be different? Her son whispered, "Mama, who is he?" She could not answer because she did not know. The man's clothes were simple, dusty from long hours of labor. His face looked tired, lined with scars, but his eyes did not shine with hate. Instead, they held something she had not seen in years. Something like patience. But patience could be dangerous too. "Why me?" the widow asked, her voice trembling. "No one hires me. Not humans, not even aliens." The man looked at her for a long time before speaking. "Because I see something others don't," he said. Then he turned his back. "Follow me if you want the job." Her children tugged at her dress, their small voices shaking. "Mama, no, don't go." She looked down at their frightened faces, then back at the man. Every instinct screamed to stay away, but hunger screamed louder. If she walked away, her children would starve. If she followed, maybe she walked into danger. Her chest tightened, but at last she whispered, "Come, hold my hand, stay close." And with weak steps, she followed the stranger through the crowded streets. They walked far from the shining shops, far from the busy markets. The air grew colder, the roads darker. He led them into the old district, a place most humans avoided. Broken buildings leaned against each other, their windows shattered. The smell of rust and smoke filled the air. Her daughter coughed, her son stumbled, but the man never slowed his pace. Finally, he stopped in front of a tall metal door. It was plain, silent, no sign, no mark, only a heavy lock. He pulled out a key, turned it, and the door creaked open. Inside was his workshop, the widow's. Breath caught, machines covered the floor, old engines, metal arms, gears, tools, things she did not understand. The walls were stacked with boxes and broken weapons. In the center stood a large table filled with strange blueprints. Her children clung to her legs, their eyes wide with fear. "What is this place?" she whispered. "My work." The man answered simply, "I need hands, patient hands, not afraid of broken things." She frowned. "But I am not an engineer. I am not a builder." He looked at her with the same calm eyes. "You are a mother," he said. "Mothers know patience, mothers know endurance, that is enough." Her heart twisted. Why would a human man speak this way? Why would he trust an alien widow with his secret workshop? She did not understand. Still, she stepped inside slowly, her children beside her. Every corner hummed with quiet danger. Every machine seemed to watch her. But there was something else too. For the first time in many years, she smelled food, real food, warm bread and soup sitting on a small table. In the corner, her children saw it too, and their little hands squeezed hers tight, begging without words. The man noticed. "Eat," he said, his tone flat but not unkind. Her pride burned, but hunger was stronger. She nodded quickly, letting the children sit and eat. Tears filled her eyes as she watched them finally chew slowly, filling their empty bellies. The man said nothing, only sat in silence, watching them. Every second felt strange, heavy with questions. Why was he helping? What did he want? When the children finished, the man stood. "Work starts tomorrow," he said. "You will clean, you will help carry, you will learn." "And if I refuse?" she asked quietly. He looked at her, his voice like iron. "Then you will leave, and no one else will open their doors for you." Fear wrapped around her chest. This was not just kindness. This was a chain. If she accepted, she tied her fate to him. If she refused, she walked back into hunger and death. She thought of her children, their thin arms, their hollow eyes. She thought of her husband's grave long lost in the ashes of war, and she thought of her promise to keep the children alive no matter what. At last she whispered, "I will work." The man gave a short nod, nothing more. "Good," he said. "Then you and your children will stay here where it is safe." Her daughter's eyes brightened with hope, but the widow's heart sank. "Safe," he said. But safe for whom? The workshop walls felt heavy, filled with secrets she could not see. And in the far corner, behind another locked door, a faint blue light flickered. She stared at it, uneasy. "What is behind that door?" she asked. The man's face hardened, his voice turning cold. "Do not ask and do not open it." The widow's breath caught. Something dangerous hid in this place, something he wanted her not to see. And as the night fell outside the workshop, she knew she had stepped into a world darker than she imagined, a world where survival meant more than just food. It meant facing secrets, lies, and perhaps something worse than hunger. The widow woke before sunrise, her children still curled on the thin blankets the man had given them. The workshop was silent. Only the soft hum of machines filled the air. She rubbed her tired eyes and looked around. The place felt less like a workshop and more like a battlefield of broken dreams. Metal arms lay twisted on the floor, wires hung from the ceiling like spider webs, and the smell of oil mixed with dust. It was not a place for children, not a place for a widow, but now, it was their only shelter. She moved carefully, picking up tools, sweeping the dust, doing the tasks he had left for her. Her hands trembled. She had never worked with machines, yet she forced herself to try. She thought of her children's full stomachs last night, the first in weeks, and her fear turned into strength. Every screw she turned, every floor she cleaned, she whispered, "This is for them." The man appeared suddenly, silent as a shadow. He watched her work for a while before speaking. "You learn quickly," he said. She froze, waiting for anger, but his voice carried no harshness, only a strange weight, as if he measured her worth in silence. "Do you wonder why I chose you?" he asked. She hesitated. "Yes." He looked away, his scarred face unreadable. "Because you have nothing to lose," he answered, and walked back to his table of blueprints. The widow's chest tightened at his words. Nothing to lose, was that all she was? A desperate creature clinging to survival. Her children were everything. How could he say she had nothing? But perhaps to him, they were invisible, just burdens at her side. Hours passed. She carried heavy boxes, sorted pieces of metal, cleaned oil-stained cloths. Her children played quietly in a corner, building tiny castles from spare screws. For the first time, laughter touched their lips, soft and innocent. It filled her heart with both joy and fear. Joy because they smiled again, fear because she did not know how long it would last. Later, that night when the man stepped outside for supplies, the widow felt the pull of curiosity. Her eyes kept drifting to the locked door in the far corner. The blue light pulsed faintly through the crack at its edge like a heartbeat hidden behind steel. Her daughter whispered, "Mama, what's in there?" The widow pressed a finger to her lips. Quiet. But her own heart asked the same question. Louder each hour, she remembered his warning. "Do not ask, do not open it." But warnings only feed fear, and fear feeds questions. She could not stop staring at that door. It seemed alive, breathing, watching her as much as she watched it. That night she dreamed of it. She saw shadows moving inside the blue light, shapes she could not name. She heard voices whispering her name. She woke in sweat, clutching her children close. The locked room was silent, but the blue light still glowed, calm and steady. The next morning, while sweeping, she dared to ask, "What are you building here?" The man's hands froze on the blueprint, his jaw tightened. "Machines," he said flatly. "Just machines." But his eyes betrayed him. She had seen those eyes before, in soldiers, in her husband before battle, in people who carried secrets too heavy to speak. These were not the eyes of a simple builder. The widow's fear grew. Had she walked into a trap? Had she tied her fate to a man building weapons for another war? If humans discovered she worked here, would they punish her? Or worse, take her children away? Still, she stayed, because hunger was crueler than fear. Because her children slept warm now, and that was a gift she could not throw away. Days turned into a strange routine. She cleaned. She learned to polish gears. She brought water for cooling engines. Her children grew braver, sometimes helping her carry light tools. The man never raised his voice at them, never struck them, but he remained distant, like a wall of iron, unbreakable. He spoke little, ate little, but worked endlessly. Sometimes she caught him staring at her children, not with cruelty, but with a sadness she could not understand. One evening, as she folded cloths, the widow saw something move. The locked door shivered, a faint sound echoing from behind it. Not metal, not gears, but something alive. Her son froze, his eyes wide. "Mama, someone is in there." Her blood ran cold. "No," she whispered, "it's only machines." But her voice lacked strength, and her children heard her fear. That night, when the man returned, she could not hold her tongue. "What is behind that door?" she demanded softly. His head turned sharply, his eyes cold as steel. "I warned you," he said, his voice low. "Do not ask again." Her heart pounded. She wanted to push, to scream, to tear the truth from him. But one look at his face stopped her. There was danger in his silence, danger in the locked room. When he walked away, her children clung to her dress, whispering, "Mama, we want to leave." Her throat tightened. She wanted to agree, but her stomach remembered hunger. Her children remembered hunger. Leaving meant starving, staying meant secrets. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Just a little longer, my loves, just a little longer." But as she drifted into sleep, the workshop shook with a faint thrum. The locked door glowed brighter than ever. The blue light spilled across the floor like water, and the widow realized whatever hid inside that room, it was not a simple machine. It was something alive, something waiting. And one day that door would open. The widow tried to live as if nothing was wrong. Every morning she cleaned the workshop. Every evening she cooked simple food from what little the man provided. Her children played quietly, with spare bolts and broken wires, their laughter echoing softly in the cold air. From outside, it looked like a family finally safe. But inside her heart, fear grew with every passing day. She could not forget the blue light behind the locked door. At night it glowed brighter, painting the walls with strange shadows. Sometimes she heard faint whispers like a voice calling her name. Other times she felt the floor tremble, as if something heavy moved inside. The man said nothing. He worked on his machines, never speaking about what hid in the locked room. But silence is also a kind of answer, and silence often hides danger. Soon the neighbors began to notice. The old district was not completely empty. Some humans still lived nearby. One woman stopped her in the alley, eyes sharp with suspicion. "You should not stay with him," the woman hissed. "That man is cursed. Everyone knows it." The widow froze. "Why cursed?" she whispered. The woman leaned closer. "His machines killed soldiers in the war. His inventions burned villages. He was banished from the council. No one trusts him, and if you stay with him, they will not trust you either." The widow's stomach turned cold. She hurried away without answering. But the words dug into her chest like nails. That night she could not sleep. She looked at her children safe and full, then at the man working in silence. Could it be true? Had she tied her life to a dangerous man? She remembered his warning. "Do not open the door." The words now felt heavier, darker. The next morning, more whispers followed her. Men passing by muttered, "Alien widow, working with him, she is a traitor." Children pointed at her daughter and laughed. "Your mama is helping the cursed one." Her son clenched his fists, ready to fight, but she pulled him close. "Don't answer, don't speak. We cannot lose this place," she whispered. Yet deep inside, She wondered if the neighbors were right. The widow tried to ask the man. "People say you are dangerous," she said carefully. He did not even look up, only replied, "People say many things." "But is it true?" she pressed. At last he raised his eyes, his voice low. "If you believe them, then leave." Her heart ached. She wanted the truth, not dismissal. But his face was a wall of stone, so she swallowed her questions and stayed silent. But silence did not protect her. That evening, when she stepped outside to fetch water, 3 men blocked her path. "You should leave before it's too late," one growled. "You and your alien brats are not welcome here," another spat. Her hands shook as she clutched the bucket. "I only work to feed my children," she whispered. The men laughed. "Feed them with betrayal, is that it?" One shoved the bucket from her hands, water spilling into the dirt. Her children screamed from the doorway. The men finally walked away, muttering, "Next time you won't be warned." Her legs nearly gave out. She gathered her children and held them tight. Tears burned her eyes. Danger was closing in from all sides. Inside the workshop, the locked door glowed with secrets. Outside, neighbors grew sharper with hate. Where could she turn? That night, when the man saw the spilled bucket and her bruised arms, his jaw tightened. "Who did this?" he asked, his voice colder than iron. She hesitated, afraid to answer, but his eyes demanded truth. "Men from the street," she whispered. He said nothing more, only walked to his table and wrote notes with steady hands, but she saw his shoulders tense like a storm ready to break. Later, when the children slept, the widow heard it again, a whisper from the locked room, soft but clear this time. It was not a machine sound, not metal grinding. It was a voice, and it spoke her name. Her skin turned cold. Her breath caught in her throat. She crept closer, one step at a time, until she stood before the glowing crack of the door. Her fingers trembled. As they brushed the cold metal, again the whisper came, gentle but eerie. "Mother," it said. Her blood froze. She stumbled back, shaking. How could something inside that room call her mother? The door rattled once, just once, as if something inside pressed against it. The blue light flared, bright enough to blind her for a moment. Her children stirred in their sleep, murmuring. She clutched her chest, tears slipping down her cheeks. What was hidden there? Why did it sound like her children? When the man returned, she almost screamed the question. But the words stuck in her throat. If she demanded answers, he might send her away, and then her children would starve again. If she stayed quiet, she lived in fear of what was behind that door. There was no safe choice. So she smiled weakly when he looked her way, pretending nothing was wrong, but her heart beat heavy with dread. The whispers of danger grew louder inside her mind. The neighbors' warnings, the men's threats, the glowing door, all mixing into one storm. And she knew soon the storm would break. The widow could no longer sleep peacefully. Every night she heard the whispers from the locked door. Every morning she tried to pretend nothing was wrong, but her eyes always drifted to that faint blue glow. Her children asked questions. She could not answer. Why does it call you Mama? Her daughter whispered. Is there someone inside? Her son asked. The widow shook her head, but her silence only made them more afraid. The man noticed her unease. He spoke less than before, his eyes darker, his movements sharper. He worked late into the night, drawing strange symbols on his blueprints, building machines that hummed with quiet power. The widow did not understand what he created, but she felt each invention was more than just metal. It was as if he was preparing for something. Something large, something dangerous. One evening, when the man left for supplies, the widow made a choice. Her hands trembled as she held the key she had found hidden beneath a pile of cloth. It must have been his spare. Her heart raced. If he discovered she had touched it, she would lose everything. But the whisper from the door grew louder in her mind. Mother, it echoed. Mother. She could not resist any longer. She walked to the locked door, her children following close behind. Stay back, she warned, her voice shaking. They obeyed, but their eyes were wide with fear and curiosity. The widow pressed the key into the lock, her hand trembling so much it almost slipped. With a soft click, the door unlocked. The blue light spilled out stronger than ever, washing over her face. Slowly, she pushed the door open. Inside, the air felt heavy. The room was filled with wires, strange tubes, and glowing crystals, and at the center lay something she could barely believe. It was not a machine, not fully. It was not alive, not fully. It was both. A figure lay on a table, part metal, part flesh. Its skin was pale like hers, alien in shape, but its chest rose and fell with faint breath. Mechanical arms connected to its sides, glowing with blue energy. Its face, oh, its face, looked like a child. Not her child, but close enough to twist her heart. Eyes half open, lips trembling as it whispered again. Mother, the widow gasped, her knees almost giving way. Her children clung to her, terrified. Is it alive? Her son whispered. I don't know, she answered, her voice breaking. The figure turned its head weakly, its eyes locking on hers. Tears welled in her eyes, because those eyes carried the same sorrow she saw in her children. Loneliness, hunger, the desperate need for love. But how? What was this creature? And why did it call to her? Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed behind her. The man had returned. He froze in the doorway, his face shadowed with anger and despair. I told you not to open it, he said, his voice sharp as steel. The widow's breath caught. I had to know, she cried. What is this? What are you hiding from us? For a long moment, the man said nothing. Then he stepped inside slowly, his eyes never leaving the half-living figure. It is my sin, he whispered at last. My failure and my hope, he explained in a low, broken voice. During the war, he had been an inventor. His machines had destroyed alien ships, killed soldiers, taken countless lives. But when he saw the bodies, saw children crying over parents, something in him broke. He tried to build something, new not for war but for protection, something that could guard the weak, something that could save lives. But his creation had not worked as planned. It became part machine, part living flesh. It had no soul of its own, so it clung to any warmth. It felt, and when it sensed the widow, it called her mother, because she was the only one who showed kindness in this place. The widow trembled, torn between fear and sorrow. This was not just a machine, not just a weapon. It was something in between, like a child trapped between two worlds, her children. Pressed closer, whispering, Mama, we're scared. The widow looked at them, then back at the man. What do you want from me? She asked. His eyes met hers, tired but determined. I want you to help me finish it, he said, because I cannot do it alone. The room fell silent. Her heart pounded like thunder. Help him finish it. Help him build this strange being, this half-living protector. Could she trust him? Could she risk her children for this? If humans discovered, they would call her traitor. They would take her children away. If she refused, she would lose the only shelter she had. Tears slid down her cheeks. Why me? She whispered. Because you are not afraid of broken things, he said softly. And neither am I. Her children held her hands tightly, their small fingers trembling. The widow looked at the half-living figure, its chest rising and falling, its lips still whispering, Mother. Her heart cracked, because no matter what it was, no matter how strange or dangerous, it felt like a child crying for love. The widow stood frozen, caught between fear and compassion. She knew her life had already changed forever, but now she faced a choice that would change her soul, to walk away and protect her children from danger, or to stay and give this broken creation the only thing it begged for. A mother. The widow tried to sleep, but the image of the half-living child haunted her. Its eyes had followed her. Its soft whisper of mother echoed inside her heart. She wanted to believe it was only a machine, but her heart refused. She wanted to believe she could walk away, but her soul chained her to its call. The next day, the city's whispers grew louder. Neighbors stared with sharper eyes, their voices dripping with poison. "They say she is building weapons with him," one muttered. "She is a traitor, feeding her children with cursed blood," another sneered. Even merchants turned their backs when she asked for food. Doors closed before she could even knock. The human world had always hated her, but now the hate was a fire ready to burn her whole. She thought of leaving the workshop, of running far away. But where could she go? Her children would starve, hunted as outcasts. Her alien world was gone. Her human neighbors despised her. The workshop was her only shelter, even if it was filled with shadows and secrets. One evening, soldiers came. Their boots thundered against the floor, their weapons glinting in the low light. They pushed past her as if she were nothing. The children screamed and clung to her. The man stood silent, his jaw tight. As the soldiers ripped through his workshop, metal clashed, blueprints tore, boxes shattered under their search. The captain sneered at the widow. "You!" he spat. "Do you know what this man builds?" She shook her head, trembling. I only clean, I only work for food." The captain laughed, cruel and sharp. "Lies? You think we don't know you aliens plot with him? You think we don't know what's hidden here?" Her stomach twisted in terror. What if they opened the locked room? What if they saw the half-living child? But the soldiers did not find it. The man had hidden the entrance well. Still, they left warnings behind. "If we see you working here again, we'll take your children," the captain hissed. "Traitors don't raise families." Her knees nearly buckled, her arms wrapped tight around her children as the soldiers marched out. Her son sobbed. "Mama, I don't want them to take us," her daughter whispered. "Let's run away, Mama, please." That night, the widow knelt by the sleeping children, tears sliding down her cheeks. She prayed silently to her dead husband. "What do I do? How do I keep them safe?" Her heart tore between two paths: protect her children by betraying the man, or protect the man and risk losing her children. The man stood in the corner, silent as stone. Finally, he said, "If you wish to leave, I will not stop you." His voice was calm, but his eyes burned. With hidden pain, the widow shook her head. "If I leave, my children starve. If I stay, they take them away. There is no safe path." He said nothing, only turned back to his machines, his shoulders heavy. Days passed in uneasy silence. The soldiers did not return, but the neighbors' hatred sharpened. Her children no longer played outside, too afraid of stones and cruel words. The widow's heart ached. She wanted to protect them, but every choice felt like a trap. Then one night, everything broke. She woke to find her son's blanket empty. Her heart stopped. "Son," she cried. Rushing through the workshop, searching, her daughter clutched her hand, terrified. On the table, she found a note. Rough words scratched in anger. "Come to the factory at midnight if you want your child. Come alone. If you tell the human, he dies. If you don't come, you never see the boy again." Her breath shattered, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped the paper. Her daughter wept. "Mama, no, it's a trap." She pulled her close, whispering, "I know, but we cannot leave him." The man entered the room, his eyes narrowing as he saw the note. "Let me handle this," he said, his voice like iron. But the widow shook her head, her voice trembling but firm. "No, if they see you, they will kill him. They want me, not you." He stepped closer, anger flashing in his eyes. "They will use you, they will destroy you. You don't understand what you're walking into." The widow's hands balled into fists, tears falling freely. "I understand hunger. I understand hate. I understand fear. But I will not lose. My child," her words cut the silence. The man stared at her, torn between rage and sorrow. Finally, he turned away, his voice low. "Then you go, but remember this. If you walk into their hands, you may not walk out." The widow's heart pounded like thunder, but her choice was already made. For her children, she would face anything, even betrayal, even death. She kissed her sleeping daughter's forehead, whispering, "Stay safe, my love." Then she stepped into the cold night, the factory looming like a shadow at the edge of the city. The note burned in her hand, each word a dagger. Her son's life depended on her, and as she walked alone through the empty streets, she felt eyes watching her from the darkness. Not just human eyes, not just enemies, but something else. Something that whispered her name. The same whisper she had heard behind the locked door. Mother. Her heart froze. She was caught between two dangers, those who wanted to break her, and the strange creation that called for her love. And in that moment, she knew. The betrayal had only just begun. The widow walked through the silent streets, the night air biting her skin. The city seemed to watch her, shadows stretching long as if trying to pull her back. But she did not stop. Her son's name burned in her heart, each step pushing her closer to the factory. The note crumpled in her hand, its words carved into her mind. Come alone, or you never see him again. When she reached the factory, its tall walls loomed like a monster, windows broken, doors hanging loose, the air thick with rust and smoke. Her breath shook, but she whispered, I am here, my child. I will not leave you. Inside, the sound of chains echoed, heavy boots scraping across the floor. Soldiers stepped out of the shadows, weapons in hand, their eyes sharp with hatred. Her son was tied to a chair, gagged, his little eyes wide with fear. Mama! He tried to cry, but the rope silenced him. The widow's knees almost gave way, but she stood tall. I came, she said, her voice trembling. Now let him go. The captain sneered, stepping forward. You think it is that simple, alien, he hissed. You work with the cursed human, you help him build monsters. Tonight you will pay. The widow's heart raced. She shook her head. I only worked for food. I never built weapons. The soldiers laughed. Lies, everyone knows what he hides. The captain raised his gun, pointing it at her chest. Your children will be raised by no one, just like you deserve. Before he could fire, the ground shook. The factory door slammed open, and the man stepped in. His face was hard, his eyes burning, and behind him the air shimmered with blue light. You will not touch them, he said, his voice sharp as steel. The soldiers turned, weapons ready. You should have stayed hidden, the captain snarled. Now you die with your alien pets. The man lifted a small device from his hand, pressing a button. The walls trembled. Machines hidden in the shadows roared to life. And from the dark corner stepped the half-living figure. Its eyes glowed, blue, its body humming with strange power. It moved with slow, heavy steps, but every step shook the ground. The soldiers froze, fear flashing across their faces. The widow gasped, torn between fear and awe. The creation turned its eyes to her, whispering softly, Mother. Her heart cracked. It looked at her not with hate but with need, with a child's longing. She understood now. This was not just a weapon, not just a machine, it was a broken soul searching for love. The captain roared, Shoot it! Gunfire exploded, bullets flying, sparks flashing against the creature's body. It staggered but did not fall. Its mechanical arms swung wide, knocking soldiers aside like paper. The man rushed forward, cutting the ropes that bound her son, pushing him into her arms. Run! He shouted. Take your children and run. But the widow shook her head, tears streaming. No, we will not leave you. The man's eyes softened just for a moment. You gave me something no one else did, he whispered. A chance to be more than a monster. Then he turned back to face the soldiers. The battle raged, the factory filled with smoke and fire. The creature shielded the widow and her children, standing in front of them like a wall. Its voice grew louder, not just whispering, now but crying, Mother, stay safe, Mother. She clutched her children, whispering, We are here, we are safe. The soldiers threw grenades, the walls shook, the machines collapsed. The man fought until his body was broken, yet he did not fall. With one last strike, he slammed his device into the ground. A surge of blue energy burst through the factory. The soldiers were thrown back, their weapons shattered, their screams swallowed by the light. When the smoke cleared, the soldiers were gone, scattered like dust. The man lay on the ground, his breath shallow, blood staining his clothes. The widow rushed to him, tears falling fast. "No, please, stay with us," she cried. He smiled faintly, his eyes soft. "You see, I told you," he whispered. "I am not no one." Then his eyes closed, his hand falling still. The creature knelt beside him, its glowing eyes dimming. It looked at the widow one last time, whispering softly, "Mother," before collapsing in silence. Her children clung to her, sobbing. The widow cried out, the sound raw, breaking through the empty factory walls. She buried her face in her son's hair, her daughter's arms around her waist. They were alive, but they had lost the one human who had seen them, the one human who had given them shelter when no one else would, the one human who had believed in them. Days later, the factory was abandoned. The neighbors whispered. The soldiers never returned. But the widow carried her children forward, her steps stronger than before. She no longer bowed her head when people spat. She no longer begged because she knew her worth. She had faced betrayal, danger, and loss, but she was still standing, and in her heart, she carried the memory of the man, the human who had been more than all the hate, the human who had given her hope. At night, she looked up at the stars and whispered softly, "One human believed in me, and that was enough."